What is up, guys? It is Sosa MMA back at you with another video, and we are here. It is officially UFC 300 fight week, and that is why I am kicking it off today with a UFC 300 fights tier list. We're going to be ranking all of the fights from the entire UFC 300 main card, from the worst to the best. Since it's so stacked, even the worst fights on here are still really pretty solid. And without any further ado, let's just kick this off. We're going to go in card order till we get to the main card because the S tier fights are on there, and I want to save those guys for the end. We're just going to get started with Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Only other thing I forgot to mention is that in the last video I did making a tier list, there were some issues with the pictures not showing up correctly, so I just picked the fighter who's going to win every matchup here. Obviously, that was in the script I got the other day, so you already know that. I'm going to go ahead and put this fight in the Now We're Talking tier, and I could see it being really fun, but that's not really the reason it's here. It's more so just because if Figgy doesn't end up winning this, it'll probably be by knockout. And then if he does end up winning this, it's also probably going to be by knockout. So you'll get a finish off the start of the card. Should be fireworks. Really good way to start it. Not really much more to say about it than that, though. It's just a really solid fight. Really good matchmaking there. Then the next fight is going to be Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. And this one's also going to go into the Now We're Talking category, and not so much because of the fight. I am predicting Jim Miller to finish Bobby Green by knockout in round 2, probably. But the main reason that it's going this tier is mainly because of the storyline of Jim Miller being the only man to not only fight on UFC 100, 200, and 300, but if he gets it done, breaking back into the rankings and doing it with a win on all 3 of those Centennial cards is just crazy. That would be actually incredible to see, and I do think we will see it, so that's going to be amazing, especially so early in the card. That's pretty banger. Pretty excited for that. I'm also excited for the bathroom break that I will get to take during Marina Rodriguez versus Jessica Andrade. This honestly is getting more hate than it should be, because this fight is not that bad, especially for a women's fight on the prelims of a pay-per-view card. You could do way worse. So for this being on the prelims and being so low, it does show you the quality of fights that are on this card. I just see it going to decision. I do think both ladies are capable of putting the other one out of there, mainly because Jessica Andrade is chinny, but she can also thump. She's the women's glass cannon of this division. But I see this going the distance. So I don't think it'd be that entertaining, but I will be entertained by Instagram reels when I'm on the toilet and by the snacks that I get while this fight is on. I will not be entertained by Hanato Moicano beating Jalen Turner. I'm really torn on where this fight should go. I feel like it could honestly it should be up here, and it would be if it was on UFC 301. But just because of the spite for Dana booking it on this card for no reason, I'm gonna move it down to this tier. It's definitely gonna be the top of this tier. Like there's nothing above this in this tier at all, and it realistically could go at the very bottom of this tier instead. But the main reason that I want to pick it here is because, one, well, I see this fight being possibly extremely entertaining. I could see Jalen Turner sparking Hanato Moicano. I could see Hanato Moicano possibly looking for a sub and getting subbed himself, something crazy like that. I would honestly see it more likely that Hanato Moicano will control Jalen Turner en route to a controversial split decision a la Turner Gamrot, and I'm just not that excited for it because I'm a huge Jalen Turner fan. I'd love to be able to pick him here, but I'm not going to because every time I do here, he loses. So I'm not picking you for you, Jalen. Just go out there and prove me wrong, knock Anato Moicano out, and prove why I'm wrong and that they shouldn't have put this on 301 because the Brazilians would have gotten salty and all left the fucking octagon or the arena because they suck. But moving up is a fight that is actually going to go super high up on the tier list. We are putting this at pants at ankles. And I am actually picking Sadiq Youssef to beat Diego Lopez as well, which sucks too because I really like Diego Lopez. But Sadiq Youssef is legit, and this fight is going to be legit. This is 2 up and coming guys in a super competitive division at featherweight, where while it might not be the just talent pool that lightweight and bantamweight that is provided, where even unranked matchups can be nightmares, it is a super talented division. If Diego Lopez wins this, he's now in the rankings, which is super exciting. Just a super, super fun fight that I could definitely see getting finished on either end. I could see Sadiq Youssef knocking Diego Lopez out. I could see Diego Lopez submitting Sadiq Youssef as well. So that fight should be really fun. And you might be surprised to see, but Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm will actually land in the Now We're Talking tier. I think the fight itself will actually be probably pretty boring. I could see Kayla getting the sub, but I think it's more likely that she also utilizes control time and ground and pound to score a decision win over Holly Holm. But I'm more so really interested and will be watching this fight to see how different Kayla Harrison looks cutting all the way down to 135. To my knowledge, we've never seen her compete at this weight class. She typically competes all the way up at 155. She's never competed in the UFC before. So it'll be really interesting to see if she will be a factor at this weight class moving forward. But a lot of that will be watching at the scales too. So we'll have to pay attention for that and make sure that we're making sure she looks decent on the scales and she doesn't look like Manon Fiorot. No offense. Moving up, we've got Aljamain Sterling taking on Calvin Kattar. And this one, I think I'm going to put it in DC type viewing. And I don't think it's anything against Aljo or Calvin. I think it should be a really fun fight still, and it's a great fight. But I think the main reason that I'm going to end up slotting it here is just because if Calvin Kattar is survivable as I think he will be on the ground, I do still expect Aljo to be able to get him down and put him in some bad spots, but I don't expect him to ever really mount serious ground and pound offense that makes you worry about Calvin Kattar becoming compromised or the fight being close to finished or anything like that. And I don't see Calvin Kattar having enough time on the feet to mount any serious offense against Aljo either that makes you think that he could get back into the fight until maybe in the third round. But Aljo has great cardio and trains with Marab as well, so I don't really see that being a factor either. So I think that this fight will be pretty predictable to see a lot of the time if my analysis is on board for it. I think Calvin Kattar 100% has routes to win this fight, though. And if he stuffs the takedowns from Aljo, it could be a really rough night for the Funk Master. That could still be really entertaining to watch, and it'd be really interesting to see how he's going to look at featherweight because we have a lot of questions about how he'll look moving up. And I also kind of want to see if he's less pillow handed here. So seeing him engage in striking exchanges, use his hands against Calvin Kattar could be very interesting. Obviously, we saw Max Holloway throw everything, including his parents' home, at Calvin Kattar, not be able to knock him out. But there's also pillow hands allegations that are still currently under investigation against Max Holloway. So that's not necessarily saying anything that we don't already know. But there's another fight here that I would really like to put higher, but I think I'm actually going to have to confine it to the very top of the Now We're Talking tier, and that's Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic. And I do think Yuri Prohaska will get this one done, but I think that it might go to decision, and I think Rakic will be trying to stink it up and make it as boring as possible through a lot of this fight. But I think that Yuri will be able to navigate that and ultimately win this contest, and he could definitely get the knockout as well. I think we'll see a very focused and rejuvenated Yuri here. And I think that he's going to be looking to impress on the biggest stage that he's ever been on so far. Obviously, he's headlined before, but this is an incredible caliber card. And you also have to think that Yuri Prohaska is headlining the prelims here, which means that while he has headlined a pay-per-view before, this could possibly be the most eyes that's ever been on a Yuri Prohaska fight, because we don't know what kind of draw UFC 300 will have to a casual or general viewing audience. And this is going to be one of the fights that is still going to be not behind a pay-per-view gate right before the pay-per-view, which is one of the few things that a ton of people who don't end up watching the pay-per-view will still watch anyways. So really exciting, and if Yuri gets it done in exciting and electrifying fashion, it'd be great. But I do feel like Rakic could stink it up and win a decision against him. But we'll just have to see. Next is probably my favorite fight on this card. I know I said that when we got to the main card, we were going to stop doing it in bout order so I could preserve the S tier ones. But Hey, guys, we're 10 minutes into the video now officially, and I haven't talked about it at all. I love Cody Brundage versus Bo Nickel. I love it so much. I put two pictures of Cody Brundage in there. And you might be thinking, you said that you're going to put the picture of the guy you think is going to win in there. And that's exactly right. That's why I have him twice. Because I think that we'll probably see in this fight Cody Brundage scoring a knockout win over Bo Nickel, but that's not what the UFC narrative here is. So the ref is going to stop the fight and say it was like an eye poke or something like that. Give Bo some time to recover. And then when the fight starts back again, you're actually going to see Cody Brundage go for a flying armbar on Bo Nickel and submit him all within round one. It's going to be a crazy, crazy fight. It's going to be a one sided domination from the GOAT Cody Brundage. There's nothing more I have to say about this matchup. And if you were expecting like some part of that where I was going to break in character or say, just kidding, this fight is D tier, I'll be in the bathroom, it's not coming. This fight's incredible. I might even go so far as to say it's the best fight on the card. But moving on. We've got Zhang Wei Li taking on Yan Xiaonan. And I'm going to put this about halfway through the now we're talking tier. And the reason I'm going to put it there is because I don't anticipate Yan Xiaonan to put up a ton of a fight. I do think that there are holes in Zhang Wei Li's game on the feet that a striker the caliber of Yan Xiaonan could exploit. But Yan Xiaonan is terrible on the ground, and Zhang Wei Li has really been looking to implement her grappling in her fights lately. I see a Zhang Wei Li masterclass coming up, and I think it'll be very entertaining to see the technique that she employs and how dominant she is over the course of 25 minutes. But I do see it going to decision. I do actually think that she could finish Yan Jianan for sure, whether that be by ground and pound or submission. I think that's on the cards. But I would say decision is the most likely outcome. So it could kind of throw off the momentum of what I expect to otherwise be a really frenetic main card if it does end up being roughly 5 rounds of the same thing, because by that point we will have seen Cody Brundage absolutely dominate Bo Nickel in a one-sided just walk through affair, obviously, because this is fantastic matchmaking for Bo Nickel. This was the jump up in competition we all wanted to see, but frankly, Bo Nickel is just not ready for somebody the caliber of opponent that Cody Brundage is, with the type of fighters that Cody Brundage is fighting. I mean, he beat Jacob Malkoun by disqualification, guys. Do I even need to say more? I'm sorry that I got back to talking about it. I know I was supposed to be talking about Zhang Yao versus Zhang Wei Li, but guys, once I've got Cody Brundage versus Bo Nickel on the board, I really am just in it for the Cody Brundage, realistically. Like, when you put that on the main card, you're doing it for the A side. And everyone knows that as soon as Bo Nickel's done fighting Cody Brundage, he's going back to the prelims. So we don't even have to like second guess that in any way, shape, or form. But whatever I was saying about Yan Jianan, yeah, it might throw off the tempo of the card if there's not a crazy finish or any like war or momentum shifts or anything that has us on the edge of our seats. Or even you could see like a domination where she's on the brink of finishing herself time, because I never really felt like she got extremely close to finishing Amanda Lemos when they fought, but I was also watching Combate Global at the same time when that fight happened. So I might just not have been paying attention whenever she did get close to finishing her. I know she had a knockdown at one point, though. I remember that. Then we're going to be putting Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira in at the top of the pants at ankles tier. This fight's going to be great. It's going to be all offense for however long it lasts. I don't see it going the full 25 minutes, and I see whoever gets knocked out getting knocked out brutally. I really do buy Jamal Hill in saying he's not going to grapple in this fight, and I think the only time you see him grapple is if he gets hurt badly. And at that point in time, I think Poaton's takedown defense is enough that Jamal Hill probably wouldn't get him down, and he's probably getting finished the same way that Erie did, or at least very similarly, because it's clear that Alex Pereira is prepared to do that from this position. But moving on, we have our first true S tier fight, and that's going to be in Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Now, this fight, Justin Gaethje came to the UFC late in his career and somehow has managed to rack up, I think, 9 Fight of the Night awards and 2 Fight of the Years. Every single fight he's in is good, no matter what. It's just a given. You don't have to think like, hey, is this Justin Gaethje fight on here going to be any good? Yes. Yeah, the fight's going to be good. I can guarantee you that. I can tell you that without watching the fight every single time. And Max Holloway is one of the most incredible fighters I've ever seen. And I'm not even a Max Holloway fan. I don't really watch him fight like religiously. I haven't seen all of his fights, anything like that. I couldn't give you tape study from him from memory or anything like that. I don't like him like that. But his performance against Calvin Kattar is something that I don't think any man will ever replicate against any other person ever. You might see levels of domination on a similar caliber, but you'll never see anybody slipping punches while yelling at the commentary team and looking away from their opponent that they're the best boxer in the UFC, while simultaneously putting up striking differentials and striking numbers, the likes of which Max Holloway did in that fight. He's otherworldly. The violence in this fight is going to be crazy. I don't think either man will leave that octagon the same. Whether they win or lose, I think you're leaving a piece of yourself in there with the other guy. And you could say that for most fights, but this one, it's going to be 100% the case, I think, unless you see a super early knockout somehow for either guy. And I think people are counting out Max Holloway's potential to score a knockout over Justin Gaethje as well. But we're moving on to the best fight on UFC 300. And it's tough because it's going to be a one-sided domination as well, but Charles Oliveira, the champion, has a name. And whenever he's there, all eyes are on him. Really, they should move every fight on the main card down one peg, except for Cody Brundage versus Bo Nickel because it's already opening the card, and just slot Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan at the top. But you don't need to change it to 5 rounds or anything like that. In fact, if you need to change the rounds or anything, you just need to remove 2 of them because that's all Charles DuBronx needs to get it done at UFC 300. Guys, I cannot wait for Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. When they lock those 2 guys in the cage, all jokes aside about Charles just walking through Arman, I think that it'll be a super fun and competitive fight. I think that you'll see grappling and scrambling exchanges. I think you'll see both guys get dropped and wobbled at points in the feet. I think that you'll see momentum shifts. I think that this fight will go back and forth for however long it lasts. And I think that it is going to be a fight of the year contender without a doubt. And I think whoever gets out of this fight will be so much more interesting to see against Islam than either guy would have been beforehand. But these are all just my thoughts, so don't get too pressed about it. I know that I didn't talk about any French people in this, so there's probably not going to be anybody too angry in the comments at me. But just letting you guys know that I want to hear what your guys' favorite fights are down below. So drop your top 3, your top 5, whatever you guys want to do. Leave a like if you did like this video. Make sure you subscribe for more bangers like this one. And peace out.